Showing reporters around the White House, Mr. Bush singled out a picture on his wall entitled "A Charge to Keep." It was a picture that he had chosen to hang in his governor's office in Texas, and he had at the time sent a memo to his staff to come up and look at it. It's the title of his campaign autobiography as well. It is quite clear that this picture has special significance for Mr. Bush. The picture is based on a Methodist hymn and speaks to, as Bush said, serving something larger than yourself in life. And the president has also said it speaks to his spirituality. Well, as a psychologist, I think it suggests both another more worldly meaning and a deeper psychological one. The picture shows three rugged horsemen taking a steep and rough trail at a gallop. One horseman is clearly in the lead, with the other two just behind him. They have almost, but not quite, made the crest of the hill, although it is clear that given their effort, they will do so. They are unflagging in their uphill struggle. In many ways, this picture captures the essential elements of Mr. Bush's psychology and his approach to leadership. The quest, or whatever it is that motivates the horseman, is an uphill battle. The path is strewn with rocks, dead branches, and the remnants of forest decay. The path is steep, and there is a risk in not doing it at a more leisurely pace, but the horsemen are having none of that. They are charging up the hill at what seems like full speed. There is an urgency to their speed. They must get somewhere important, and the clock is ticking. It is indeed a charge to keep in the double sense of that phrase. It is a rendezvous with purpose and destinies on the other side of that hill, somewhere in their futures. And in order to get there, they have to keep charging hard. This is no charge of half measures. The horseman in the foreground and leading the charge. The horseman in the foreground and leading the charge is a horse length in front of the other two. He is clearly a part of the threesome, but not bound by their pace. His eyes look straight ahead. His face is etched with concentration. He is part of the group, but apart from it as well, a parallel to Mr. Bush's psychology that I mentioned before. There are three men in the picture, and we can't tell if more are following. Perhaps they are the vanguard of a larger group. Perhaps the success of their quest depends on them alone. One can see much of Mr. Bush's principles of leadership in this picture, and one reason why it resonates so deeply for him. Of that lead rider, Mr. Bush has said, he's riding a rough trail. You don't know how many horsemen are behind him, and you know it's at least two, it could be 2,000, but you just don't know. But you know it's a pretty rough-looking trail, and there is absolutely no question in your mind that he's going to make it, end quote. It is not a picture that you could imagine George W.'s father identifying with. And it reflects, I think, George W.'s preference for leading rather than governing. The exact reverse, of course, was true of his father. A charge to keep is, in many senses of that phrase, reflective of that biographical fact. The call to service that Bush talks about speaks to another part of his leadership after 9/11, Mr. Bush as essentially a new world prophet, alerting Americans to mortal danger. When considering Mr. Bush's hard-charging style, it is important to remember that circumstances as well as psychology play a role here. In both the domestic and international arena, his transforming agenda must contend with entrenched and hostile interests arrayed against them. It is that reason why a hard charge may be necessary to get up over the hill, and a weak one is not likely to make much headway.